Welcome to the Forge of Champions promotion relegation week. We've gone past that initial part of the tournament where we have our winner. Congratulations to Fnatic, obviously, for it was Fnatic, right? I'm not.
Yeah, they won again. They're pretty good.
I literally was looking at Dan's face, and Dan was like, "You've just said the wrong team." And I was like, "No, I really hope I haven't."
Just messing with you.
So yeah, so congratulations to Fnatic. They did take home the trophy, but we have now got to decide those two promotion relegation spots where you have Darkspawn and Bulldogs fighting for their essentially UKLC lives, going up against two of our open teams that made it this far, and that will be E9. It will be, pronounce it for me.
Aibu,
a Brotherhood. Apparently that's the way you pronounce it. And also it's going to be Nvision as well. So they're the two teams that will be competing. So we're going to have Nvision and Aibu taking on Darkspawn and also Bulldogs. So it's going to be this kind of double elimination format to see who actually makes it back into the UKLC.
Yeah, to put it simply, it's best of threes. If you win 2 best of threes, you're in. If you lose 2, you're out. Very simple. You can do it in any order. You can go win, lose, win. You can go lose, win, win. Or you can go win, lose, lose, and then you're out.
Yeah, that can't lose twice.
Yeah.
And of course, unfortunately, looking for Org and Hybrid for me was the big surprise that they weren't able to make it into this part of the tournament because if you've seen Forge of Champions, Hybrid, of course, the only team that really overperformed, took a game of Excel as well. But tonight, it's going to be E9, Brotherhood, and Nvision that try to kick out these UKLC teams. Now, like you said, not going to kick them out for good tonight.
Let's take a look at the bracket to show you exactly what we mean in terms of. Oh, well, we're coming at the bracket soon. I assumed we'd have it ready. No, there we go. I didn't have to wait very long. Didn't have to wait very long, Borch, did I? It's Darkspawn Gaming going against E9. It's going to be Bulldog as well taking on Nvision. It is a double elimination format, like Orc said. If you were to win 2-0, you go straight to the UKLC. If you lose 2, you're out. And again, as Orc said, you can do it in any way you want. You can go win, lose, win. You can go win, lose, lose, and you're out, whatever. That is how this tournament format is set up. We're going to be starting off with the best of 3 with Brotherhood taking on Darkspawn, and then we're going to be having Nvision taking on Bulldogs later on today in another best of 3. So if we have a look, when we get to it, we'll bring up the schedule for you, and you can see exactly what we mean.
I do think we are actually starting with the Bulldogs.
Oh, we're starting with the Bulldogs and Nvision.
Yep.
So, okay.
And then it's Darkspawn vs Brotherhood. And we are going to be streaming today, tomorrow, and on Friday, as we do have 5 best of 3s in total to get through. So we'll be a shorter stream. Here is the schedule for you, just so you are aware when to tune in to see our beautiful faces.
Yeah,
Yes.
so like we said, start off tonight with Bulldogs versus Nvision. We are playing on patch 9.9, by the way, so that's a change from Forge last week. Darkspawn Gaming take on E9 Brotherhood next. And then tomorrow, it's going to be the upper final. So tomorrow, we already know if one of these open teams is going to make their way in or whether that's not going to be the case and it's going to be one of the UKLC teams.
And that's the thing, is that today you can either get your foot halfway in or your foot can be halfway out the door. Because if you lose a game, it's very sort of tight because you have a series tomorrow that will decide your fate.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get involved in social media, you can go to Twitter at LVP UK, use the hashtag Forge of Champions to talk about the promotion relegation tournament, and you can bring all of the Alan Partridge related memes that you like into the fray. I do want to hear some more about that. That was the most fun I've ever had casting.
I looked him up afterwards. It was all right. It was okay.
Get out. Can't understand.
Yeah, so unfortunately we have actually
Brilliance.
lost one of our casters. Chronicler will be leaving for the rest of the show, so
If you don't like Alan Partridge, you don't deserve to be on the show. So you can just go. Yeah, there's like a seat in the corner for you over there. Now you've got the Orcs and Scoundrel show, and yes, we'll be diving into Nvision taking on the Bulldogs. We also have a YouTube, by the way. It's LVP UK on YouTube. You can catch all of the highlights from Forge of Champions, all of the highlights from the UKLC, and the previous Forge of Champions tournament. If you really want to go that far back, we've got those archives for you. But yes, go and check out LVP UK on YouTube. We will welcome you back as long as you say that you like Alan Partridge.
I do.
Okay,
Love
there we
him.
go.
Great
Wonderful.
guy.
everything's sorted, everything's forgiven.
Exactly. So we're going to dive into that first matchup, gents. Bulldogs taking on Nvision. What are your general thoughts going into this? I think I personally am leaning on the side of Bulldogs being better, but...
Yeah, I think obviously coming into this, Nvision are the 2nd seed. Bulldogs did come 8th, but they did have some really solid performances. I think their mid laner really showed up in a lot of games, even though they didn't quite have the record to represent it. And I feel like this should be favored towards Bulldogs. But then again, our prediction was it would be Hybrid who made it through. So it shows that anything can really happen. It comes down to how they play on the day.
Well, before we actually get into the picks and bans, we have a highlight reel from, I think, Forge of Champions last week. So you can see a little bit of the action leading up to that win for Fnatic. So let's take a look.
Unless he picks up a Gauntlet and a Mirror Mana right now, he's really struggling. Just pick up that Gauntlet.
That's it. And I think, oh my goodness, Chu just absolutely obliterated Krogson.
That was some damage.
Usually see the Cloud Dragon.
I mean, the in-combat movement speed's really nice for them as well. It's actually Silence into the Never Grasp onto Haddo. He is just going to go down here. The Cloud Drake's on, and Monk takes the depth charge to the face. They throw out the bubble, and multiple members jump in as Monk jumps out of the unstoppable onslaught. They see Monk is low HP as Nolty's on that flank. The Void Seeker snipes out by Monk, and it's a 1-for-1 trade. Jumps back as he might just try to chase here. Jumps in for the assassination, finds it, and now Haddo is trying to get the sustain. In comes Shogun, flashes in for the heal. Haddo's low, the Black Shield's on. Mumma's chasing for the kill.
No way!
The chains. Mumma's, what the hell is happening? Shogun,
he's still alive!
him up. In comes Jens with the chains as Yusa finds himself the connection onto multiple members as they find.
They all live!
They all come out alive from the play. Eminem, what the hell was that? Exile dodges away. They're getting the damage on. The Buster shot back as Monk's trying to get that damage out. A hook comes in. Monk flashes away. Shogun's going to flash away. It's a 1-for-1 trade here as Eminem. Oh, on the hunt. So Inax is low. In goes the Glacial Fissure. Monk launches away. In comes Chips with the slot to Taxa. Look out for Monk though. The Winter's Raft on and Taxa hunting for the kill. But Monk cleans him up. Down the mid lane, but the bubble does find his mark onto one. Try to find that paddle star. That's going to be the hook, but it's not enough to find the damage as Monk will get pinned down and he's going to get blown up. But no, it's actually being turned around. The Nevergrass connects onto Mummas as a stopwatch gets used out. Nobody's done the fight as Nolty finds one. Slicing Maelstrom. It's a 2-for-1 fight in favor of Eminem. But the Hellfire Yusa is resetting. Chips has to flash away. In comes the Realm Warp and Chips has 3 members on top of him before he can do anything about it. Now he's running away from Kerberos underneath his turret towards safety. Does have that bubble to work with as he does connect and gets the paddle star in. Kerberos is going to go down, but he finds the ace for his team.
The shield!
The shield is huge, and Diabolus come out on top.
Well, the action from Kerberos was so intense that it actually froze the replays. So unfortunately, couldn't even watch the rest of them. That is how good Kerberos is as a Rise player.
Yeah, absolutely. He used the room prison on the video. We're jumping into picks and bans, by the way, so let's get on with this first match of the day. It's going to be Bulldog versus Nvision. Now I can bring you in and talk a little bit about this, gents. Most people saying that... Look, Nvision were the second-place team coming out the open double elimination bracket, with E9 essentially smurfing their way through that entire set of games. Nvision came in as the second team. Most people expected Hybrid to come in, but Hybrid kind of threw it, and Nvision now are the ones here. Do you think they've got a chance versus Bulldogs? How close do you think this will be?
I'm really wondering about how this first game is going to go, because I think that really sets the pace for me. Now, if we see Bulldogs right from the get-go show mechanical dominance, show early aggression, and show that control that we know that the UKLC teams can have against these open teams, wherein they can take control of the early game and then just snowball from there because of the fact that they have so much more experience, that would be very good. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, though.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, for me, Bulldogs, they did not have a good UKLC, but they consistently had roster issues. And I think, to be honest, that was my issue more, is that they never had... For a lot of the time, they didn't have a jungle main on their team because they were running with their top sub in the jungle, and they just had issues throughout. And I feel like now that they have the solid roster they're stuck with, they still have Calwood, who's been an absolute monster. I have to favor them, but I think Nvision definitely have a chance. And like you said, they need to come out on the first game with a strong start to sort of get the momentum going.
Right, gents, let's have a look at some of the picks and bans here. You can see Karthus, Aurelia, and Hecarim banned. Rek'Sai, Silas, and Caitlyn by Nvision here up against Bulldogs. What do you make of these picks and bans so far? Quite a lot of jungle targeting as well.
Yeah, I mean, junglers are the big one. We are 9-9, so there has been the change to the Scuttle Crab. So these level 3 junglers are very strong. Kindred's still available, and something else is the Akali, which has been hovered. That is one of the big flex picks you've seen contested so much at MSI, and even with slight nerfs on this patch, it's going to be picked up, but quickly answered back with the Vladimir.
And Brelia's Vladimir, we don't know if yet, because it can get flexed in mid lane, but Brelia's Vladimir was actually in one of the reasons why they were able to not only win one of their games that we saw in Forge, but also stay alive in a game where they fell really far behind early on, because He is one of the win conditions for me, at least, when you look at this team, that he's not going to be the kind of laner that comes out of lane and just completely demolishes your opponent, but he is a consistent threat once you get to 1-2 items. And Nvision also loves Xayah Rakan.
Yeah.
And we already see the Xayah picked up. And with the Nautilus, that's probably going to be Xayah Rakan for Nvision.
Interestingly, I think Bulldogs were the only team that didn't make it out of the round of 8 in the Forge of Champions from the previous UKLC rosters. Correct. I think this was the only team that dropped. So in terms of power placing in the UKLC, this is the team that you probably could strike at. This is the team that you could try and target. But they have revamped or changed a little bit of their roster coming into this particular game. They're going to go for the Nautilus Kai'Sa on this rotation, giving over the Xayah Rakan. I do like picking up Xayah without picking Rakan, because often picking Rakan in isolation can feel a bit awkward.
Yeah.
And so you basically throw the gauntlet down saying, well, you know that we're going to go Xayah Rakan. You pick a bot lane that involves Rakan or we're going to get it. And they just said, no, that's fine. Nautilus could be going mid, top, or even going over to the cat at the bot lane.
Yeah, I think I would expect it to go towards the bot. I think Bulldog, there was an area where you could pick something like a strong laner. They already have the Akali, but you could pick like a strong top laner or a strong jungler. And then the problem is Nvision did draft themselves into a hole because they picked their Xayah. You know they want the Rakan, you know what their third pick's going to be, but Bulldog play it safe. They don't want to reveal where the Akali is going, so they just pick up their own bot lane. And to be honest, as far as bot lane goes, Nautilus Kai'Sa is a pretty solid one. It'll go toe-to-toe pretty well with Xayah Rakan.
A lot of burst damage potential.
Yeah, the level 6 is so hard to avoid because the Nautilus will have all the CC, the Kai'Sa can easily follow up, and then quickly seen some bans come out. Some jungle, but I really like the Ryze ban because that could be flexed with the Akali, but also a very good matchup into the Vladimir, which could be problematic for that champion.
It's going to be the Z ban, I'm guessing, versus 3Z3. We know that 3Z3 is probably one of the standout players for Nvision on this roster. He's got a kind of eclectic mid lane champion pool. I think he played Veigar in one of the games that we saw him play. He's definitely got a very, very wide champion pool, and so rather just a more sort of interesting champion pool compared to most regular mid laners. And
it also kind of is a switch up from what we usually see from these open teams, because both Hybrid and E9, we're going to see later on, felt like teams that were really built around an insane AD carry. We got Dragdar on Hybrid, who unfortunately didn't make it, but still got a great performance in Forge. And then we have Dan Voxney, who's going to play in the next best of 3. Whereas, like you said, with Nvision, I feel like it's more about these solo laners. Can they get ahead? And if they do, can they snowball from there on out?
So we're going to be seeing the Elise come through, not on 9.10, where Elise got some major buffs in terms of her Spiderlings being able to apply the burn and also the buff to Runic Echoes. But we are going to see the Elise coming out for Canal in the jungle. We're also going to see the Aatrox, which we imagine is going to go to Ego Speed. This is the reworked Aatrox, or the reworked Aatrox, where we have seen some changes to him. People arguably saying that he's better now if you're a good Aatrox player. And we'll see the roster of Nvision rounded out with the Azir. So gentlemen, all of us, I guess we can discuss this. We're all color casters in one way, shape or form.
Yep.
Bulldog, look at what they've got going for them. Orcs, what do you see in their win conditions right there?
I mean, for me, it's around the early game pressure of that Elise. You have a very strong 2v2 in the mid and in the top lane with the Elise Aatrox or the Elise Akali. And it's all about getting that early pressure and getting the game going.
I think it's a perfect setup for Elise, because you've got every single lane is gankable, right? You've got a great 2v2 mid, great 2v2 top, but you've got Nautilus bot, which sets up, incredible gank potential in that bot lane, pre-6 especially onto the Xayah Rakan. So you've got plenty of options. I do think that it's going to be a big driver. You can also 1-3-1, even though Akali's gone for the cleanse. Maybe might not see it as much, but you can still... That
seems really weird to me. I guess maybe for the late game team fighting against the Rakan, but that seems a really weird choice to pick it just for that, because there's no CC you can cleanse in the mid jungle.
It's also Kha'Zix, right? You're not playing as a Sejuani where it'd be like, it's safe, but it's understandable. But Kha'Zix is not going to CC you, she's going to murder you.
I think when I look at Nvision, it's a bit more cut and dry for me. Team fight. That's just like Vladimir, Azir. The Kha'Zix is just there to pick people off on the outside and provide pressure. And Xayah Rakan, it's just a death bowl team fight situation.
I mean, it's absolutely a lot of scaling as well. I feel like the Kha'Zix is going to outscale the Elise. He's not as great in the early levels. You can gank, but you really want to get those evolutions on your abilities. He will be stronger later on. The
Vladimir
Azir as well.
Like crazy.
Vladimir Azir. It's so much scaling, and you have an element of dive with the Kha'Zix and the Vladimir, but you have so much backline damage.
I'm a bit worried about Nvision's roster, though. I feel like... I genuinely feel that this meta is so lane-centric focused in terms of lane matchups and getting ahead in lane. I don't see any of those lanes, maybe apart from mid, where you could push a massive advantage. And I don't even think getting a massive mid lane advantage means as much in this meta compared to bot lane and top lane.
I think bot is the one where you can get an advantage with that Zyra Khan, but the problem is you have the stronger ganking jungler, so it's really going to be down on Infinity to track where the Elise is, because if you come in for a counter gank, once Elise is used a Cocoon and Repel,
3v3 could be good, right?
She's very vulnerable, and it's easy to get some follow-up, especially since it's quite hard to gank a Zyra Khan because the Rakan is so mobile. But like you said, I think the early game pressure is definitely on the side of Bulldog. And this may be Nvision going, look, we've seen you in the UKLC, you haven't impressed us, we think you aren't going to be able to close the game out, so we're going to pick a bit of scaling and just wait it out.
Because, like you say, I think that it's also kind of calling the bluff from Bulldog, saying, because you see an early game composition, I think the Kai'Sa skills nicely, but besides that, like you say, the Elise, the Aatrox, that early pressure, if they can deal with that well, if they, like you say, you know, Bulldog, we've seen you, you're gonna you're not gonna get as far ahead as you need to be, or you're not gonna be able to close out the game before we get to that team fighting stage.
Well, that's a really good thing, I think. Is a good way of, I actually like that as a win condition, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I genuinely like that at the UKLC level and versus some of our UKLC teams. I don't mind the pure scaling as a win condition, because if you can survive that, if you do hedge your bets and them not being able to snowball the laning phase, which, to be honest, some of our lower end UKLC teams have always struggled with, then you've just got these big button late game carries. I mean, you hit R on Vladimir at 5 items, you're just going to kill an entire team, right? As long as it's well placed.
I mean, you also got Sand Soldiers there if that wasn't enough.
My only massive concern is that it's not like Bulldog's composition just completely falls apart late game.
No, of course.
They still have elements that are fit, that are strong. And I feel like
Kai'Sa.
like Kai'Sa, the Akali is still going to be a menace in the later stages. Aatrox isn't as great super late, but mid game is still very strong. And I feel like, yes, you have a scaling advantage, but if Nvision's plan is just sit here and wait until you win the game, you'll probably have lost it before that happens. I think you do need to put some fight back into it. I think it's going to come down really to Infinity on this Kha'Zix. He needs to stop the Elise from taking over the game. He needs to track her in the jungle and also potentially provide counter pressure just to keep his team in it. Because if they remain even and it gets to the later stages, great. They are going to take over the game. But if they get to, you know, 25, 30 minutes and they're 10k goal down, they're not just going to auto-win the game.
If I'm looking at lanes for win conditions, I'm looking at Nvision, I'm saying if bot lane pops off, great, because I think that genuinely provides them ability to either stall the game long enough or just win from bot lane. But then I look at a Bulldog and I'm like, well, you can win bot lane, that's a great win condition for you, but you can also win top and mid, which have those potentials for the 2v2s, and they can snowball out of control. I think there are more avenues for Bulldogs to get a win with, whereas Nvision really have the bot lane to play through early to mid game. Everything else is just like, okay, well, we're going to scale, right?
It's just the pressure is on Bulldog, and that's what I was saying. Like, and even now, even more so with this draft, it's just very clear that Nvision are saying, Bulldog, either you, because they're kind of giving Bulldog all the autonomy in this game, whereas saying we don't really have the tools to get to the mid-late game. Because if I look at that draft, like Vladimir's not going to do anything, Azir's not going to do anything. You have the Kha'Zix, which is kind of okay, but like you said, it's just the bot lane, and being able to call that, it's risky. If it works, then you're up a game, and then you can try and do the same thing again. Because I do feel like if Bulldog lose the first game here, then I'm kind of worried for them, because I think this is a really confident draft, and I'd like to see them actually cash in on that.
Yeah, I think my concern as well is there is a very much lack of hard CC on the side of Nvision. It's basically Rakan has quite a bit. There's, you know, the Shurima Shuffle is a little bit, and that's basically it. And that's only essentially a knock-up. And I feel like they are massively lacking that across the board. And that's going to really hit the mid-game. And I think that if they start to try and fight things a bit too much, if they go, oh, we should fight this Infernal, say one shows up in the mid-game, they might lose out just because things like Akali and Aatrox, if you can't lock them down, if you can't lock down the Kai'Sa, they're going to be really hard to deal with. Later on, it's not as big of a deal because you just have the raw damage to cut through them. But again, this mid-game period, I feel like Nvision have to tread very carefully or they might throw away the game. I
do feel like the wave clear is there. So I think that the objective control is going to be really hard for Nvision. But with Vladimir, with the Azir, there are enough possibilities for you to stall out the game. But that is, again, like it all comes down to the defensive play from Nvision here, because you can kind of try and keep the waves clear, but if you're getting dove, then it doesn't really matter.
Just to keep you in the loop, by the way, we had an initial little pause at the beginning of the game, so that's why we're just waiting to jump in after Champions Select so far. But we are, I'm being told, pretty quickly getting into games, so we'll be in our first promotion relegation match as we begin. Remember, this doesn't decide who goes in or out of the UKLC. This is just that first win or first loss on the board for one of these two teams.
I'll get you halfway there.
Yeah. Winner of today's two matches take each other on tomorrow. Losers of today's matches take each other on tomorrow as well, in the way that the double elimination bracket works. And then we'll go to a final best of 3 on the Friday, which will decide our final team to make it back into or newly anointed into the UKLC. I'm kind of a little bit more exploring this concept of the sort of the late game and kind of what to play through. I think when I look at the bot lane, if a poorer or weaker bot lane had been drafted for Nvision, I would have just said this is Bulldog's game out and outright, right? But because they've got the Xayah Rakan, and I think bot lane is probably the most important lane in the meta right now because of the way that you play through it, and it basically decides rotations. You play around bot lane for first Drake, you rotate top to make sure you secure the Rift Herald. I would argue that bot lane is probably the most important lane in the game right now. If you can set up good 3v3s in the bot lane, you can utilize the strong Xayah Rakan lane and play around that. And then if you're the team that has the priority in the bot lane, and then you make those rotations to swap your solo laners out into side lanes, you keep the pace up through your bot lane, Nvision could genuinely take this game, even with the scaling, right? So I think this bot lane might be the key focus for maybe both junglers here. It depends on what we're seeing from Elise. She might think the bot lane is important. I think she has to keep tabs on where Kha'Zix is, because if Kha'Zix is going bot, she needs to match it. However, she has more options in the solo lanes if she wants to utilize those too. For a ganking jungler, that's always a really good thing.
Yeah, and what I'm going to be interested in is there's a new Kai'Sa build that surfaced. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. But so on this
double
patch...
Infinity Edge?
Nope. On this patch, well, we'll get in the game. I'll talk about it if it shows up, but let's just say it's very spicy.
Is it dicey?
Yeah, it's very dicey. I hope it comes up because it will be so interesting to see it. But we are loading onto the Rift.
And we haven't really given this any attention yet, but fortunately for you guys, you're going to be treated to a tri-cast tonight. So no one is going to leave, because usually this is where we
say goodbye to someone.
Say goodbye to someone.
Well, actually, we would have said goodbye to someone a long time ago. Probably Jake.
I mean, we've done pick and ban with 3 people before.
Have you? I mean,
all right.
Was that last week?
Yeah, we did that last week.
We did.
Okay. Well, you see
but now, that's not going to be the case, guys. It's going to be all 3 of us. So, getting into the game, Bulldog taking on Nvision, and I like an underdog buff, and you pointed out there, Orcs, the first dragon will be that Infernal.
Which absolutely benefits Bulldogs, because Nvision, they really want there to be nothing in the early game they can desperately contest. They want to be able to just give it up. And an Infernal Dragon, it kind of baits you in, because if the other team kill the first Infernal and there's another Infernal, that's when you really go, oh god, you feel like you have to fight one of these. So definitely a favorable start. Just the RNG going in the favor of Bulldogs right now.
And what I'm also wondering about, because you already pointed it out shortly, Orcs, is the scuttle change, where we only see the scuttle spawn after 3 minute 15. How do you think that is going to influence the early game here as we look at both of the junglers?
So I think Elise has become more meta because of that. And I think it's because she's a big level 3 jungler. In general, level 3 junglers tend to benefit from these scuttle changes more than anything. It's why Xin Zhao fell out of the meta and why he got buffs on 9.10. Because Xin Zhao's just classically been a level 2 jungler. You just take E and Q and you run at someone. Or W and Q, whatever you want to use. Both of them work very, very well. But regardless of that, level 3 junglers have kind of worked their way back in. And Kha'Zix is a big level 3 jungler too. It opens up all of his kit. He's got his Q, his W, and his E. It's the sort of the best skirmishing point for him. As a jungler versus jungler, he's not really a level 2 jungler either. So I think both of these junglers are going to benefit fine. I also just think that Elise's clear speed's slightly better than Kha'Zix's, because she has the ability to just mash down with the
double the abilities, essentially.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
although a couple of them aren't used in combat, she still has 4 that are going to help her clear. It is interesting to see that Quanal went buff to buff and then to Krog, so he should hit level 3 at this point, which implies to me he wants to be very aggressive in the levels, where if you look at Infinity, he's going for a very full clear. He's cleared his whole red side, he's likely going to go to his blue side and do the full thing, but right now, Quanal is sneaking in the bot lane, and like you said, like Scoundrel, the pressure from Nvision is going to come from the bot lane, and he wants to make things happen right now. Yeah,
well, he hasn't got any wards to contend with in those bot lane side brushes. Whether he waits for this, I mean, you can see there's a cannon minion pushing back in right now. This lane will push towards Canal. He might have to wait a little bit longer than he'd like to, losing a bit of that jungle clear. But he will find a gank here. This will happen. It's just about whether Kha'Zix or Infinity can read this, and he will head down for a 3v3.
And, oh, look at that. If that Q would have hit the brush, might have actually spotted him there. And they're going for the engage! Hit two people, but that is the absolute worst of outcomes. Camilla, though, gets away for now. The Ignite is ticking down, but it won't be enough. The final auto attack comes through, and that's first blood for Kano.
Yeah, and Spark and Yukimedial just over-aggressive. That is what he was waiting for, because Rakan is hard to gank. He has a lot of mobility, but if he goes in, he burns some of that himself, it's an easy pickup.
If he uses the Grand Entrance, that's it. That's part of his mobility down the drain. Sometimes you use that as an exiting tool, right?
I'll call that a not-so-grand entrance.
Yeah, not so grand. And actually, you can see Canal hasn't even been punished for it. He's managed to get the River Scuttler in the bottom side of the map as well. He still has those camps up and available to him. We did think this bot lane would be a priority for both teams, and I love the fact that Bulldogs played that wave exactly like they needed to push it back towards them with the cannon minion, and then they managed to bring Elise down to make the gank happen.
Yeah, there is a pretty aggressive invade coming out here from Infinity, and he's seen a very aggressive pattern coming out from Canal, so he's taking the time to take some camps to the side of the map. And interestingly enough, I haven't seen this, so I've seen a lot of things. I haven't seen a phase rush Kha'Zix, which is what Infinity's gone towards. But
let's take a look at that again, and really, that was that Q that missed, so he didn't actually manage to scout the brush. He goes for the engage because they're trying to get a bit of damage down into the Nautilus, but unfortunately, once you've used that as Rakan, that's it. Like, you don't really have much else to get yourself out of a situation. When you commit to the engage, that's usually it. You can dive back out with your shield a lot of the time. But the fact is that he dived in, got locked up by Nautilus. The Elise was there, and he didn't see it. Oh my god, they're going for him again.
There's another flash cocoon, and there's nothing that he can do. Gets taken down solo, but in the end, combination of Grand Entrance and his W is enough to get him out of there.
Well, that's kind of what you do as Rakan, right?
That's the strength of him, and that's the big thing, is that they killed the Rakan in the early levels. Zaya still has a flash, so they want to go for the Rakan again, but he has a lot of mobility. They aren't able to find the kill. And just as we're talking about that replay, key point for me is Kunal is the one who got that 400 gold. So he got that first blood. He's the one who's going to use that to accelerate the game.
And this is what we wanted to see right coming into this game. So now we've seen the first blood, the second gank has been evaded, and if you can take a look at the scoreboard in a second, I'm wondering how far Infinity is now up, because with the second gank failing, I mean invading, you might be able to find a little bit of an edge there. We now see the pings though going down towards that Infernal.
I think there's two camps that he took plus the steal of the Gromp. So he's about 3 camps up, but overall he lost out on first blood, didn't get both scuttlers. It really isn't the worst situation in the world. And honestly, Canal, as an Elise, is a super snowbally jungler too. There's a massive push in the bot lane right now. They might just go for yet another gank here.
Yeah, they're going to be careful. I think our ward did time out from before when I was looking.
And can he find the cocoon? The lay at CC isn't there. And that's, of course, always the difficulty. You need to wait so long, or else it's just going to get dodged.
You can see actually Infinity up about 15 CS. I think that is about 3 or 4 camps worth of CS in the back pocket of the Kha'Zix. He is essentially hard scaling towards 6. He is currently out leveling Canal. But I want to take a look at the solo lanes too. There's a slight advantage for Calwood on this Akali. No major advantages being opened up for Ego Speed in the top lane on this Aatrox. However, he is kind of taking the brunt of these engages. He's kind of the one coming out on top. So without this bot lane popping off for Nvision, I mean, if you look at the CS differences between Kai'Sa and Zaya, it'll kind of tell you everything. Without this bot lane popping off for Nvision, I'm kind of worried about their chances. Maybe it comes through to some good skirmishes with Infinity, though. That's where I'm thinking there might be some comeback potential.
I mean, it's still only an 800 gold lead.
Yeah,
it's definitely in the favor of Bulldogs, but they need to keep things going. They want to secure that Infernal Dragon. They want to apply more pressure to the bot lane. They've ganked it 3 times. They got 1 kill. So, yes, the CS is in favor, but if you look at what Infinity's doing, he is able just to farm up a Storm in this situation. And you can tell he's gone towards this sort of, I want to scale as much as I can. I think that's the reason you go for the phase rush, because if you want to skirmish in the early levels, Electrocute is better. It's going to offer more damage, but if you want to be more for menace in later team fights, phase rush is going to help you more.
You can see there was a teleport back in from Brelia. Infinity was hanging around that top side of the map. He will walk over the River Scuttler, or just around the edge of it anyway, but he has got a small level advantage.
Now we still don't see the Infernal Drake getting taken. Earlier on we saw it and they tried to go for a gank, but now I'm starting to wonder, would it not have been better to just make sure that you get that first Infernal that's going to be so good for your
Kha'Zix is such a good Drake taker, right? So with the bot lane still seemingly having the shove from Spark and UK Meal Deal,
I think the risk is just the fact that you know Elise has permanently been down there. If you start that Infernal, you end up low, you end up taken down. And I've got some bad news for you guys. We're not seeing the new Kai'Sa build this game. It's your first item that's changed, and he is going towards I believe that'll be the Storm Razor, so not going for the new spicy build.
All that far Colwood getting taken low, but uses the Shrive to stay alive for a little bit, but Infinity picks him up on the back foot there. And now Canal is stuck on his own here, and repelling in is really good, but if you get doubled by a Kha'Zix already, and Freezer free, makes that alive.
And Infinity is going to go and take the red buff too, clear out camps on the bottom side of the map, basically extrapolate that massive CS advantage that he already had. This is a little awkward if you are the side of Bulldogs right now.
Infinity needs to be careful. They will be able to get out if he gets hit by a Dratch line. That will be the end of the bug. But he does not get found, and I feel like this advantage in the bot lane also hasn't really amounted to a lot here.
I mean, it's closed down massively. The CS is starting to get caught up on. Spark and Meal Deal, yes, they died in that first gank, but since then, all they've lost is a bit of CS, and I have to commend them for the pressure that they've managed to absorb since that point, because if they had died again and again and again when at least ganked, they definitely could have put this game in a bit of a tilter.
This is a good response, though. They've seen the back coming out from Spark and UK Meal Deal. They're going to go straight for the Infernal Drake. They're going to secure it. It's a good neutral objective to take. Keeps Bulldog fighting in this game. But we said that the person that, or rather Orcs highlighted the person that needed to pop off this game had to be Infinity on the Kha'Zix. That would give them plenty of mid-game skirmishing potential. Lots of gank potential when a Kha'Zix gets ahead too. And right now, Kha'Zix is he's 2-0 with a sizable CS lead over his opposing jungler too.
Yeah, really good position. And the fact that the next dragon is a Cloud, I've got to say favors Nvision, because they're happy just to leave that one. They're happy just to give it over to Bulldogs if Bulldogs start to gain control of the game again, and give that dragon up and just keep scaling and scaling, because again, that Azir, that Vladimir will be monstrous later on in the game.
I was going to mention, we thought that Calwood would be taking the cleanse, but he didn't. He switched it out to the teleport before the game started. So there is that 1-3-1 potential if things get rolling.
It would be very weird for him to take the cleanse.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the cleanse coming out on the Akali.
We were all very confused,
yeah.
let's be honest there. Right? So 10 minutes in now, the gold lead actually now in favor of Nvision, even though the Infernal Drake has been picked up, and we saw the early aggression working out for Bulldogs, but afterwards, they weren't really able to maintain that. And what lane are we going to be looking at as we see the lane swap coming through here? So that tells me they want to play around the Rift Herald.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what they want to do. They need that Rift Herald. They need to essentially use it to snowball a lane. Either get a load of plates, or they just need to take out that first turret and start to apply the pressure through that kind of lanal rotations. Because if I'm completely honest, they are now starting to struggle in the normal lane setups. They haven't been able to make much more of those ganks in the bot lane. Their solo laners haven't been snowballing, so they need to utilize this Rift Herald, and this is a very, very clever early Rift Herald take, because this is going to allow them to push their advantage a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what I need to see them doing, is when they pick up the Dragon, they pick up the Herald, this is how you snowball the game, because yes, there was a great play coming out from Nvision in the mid lane. That does not mean Nvision is suddenly going to just be able to be an early game composition. Infinity still does not want to take too many skirmishes, especially when you look at this 3-man between the Elise, the Kai'Sa, and the Nautilus. There is so much single target damage in CC between that, especially with the Cat now at level 6. Infinity has to be very careful, because if he goes in, it's unlikely he'll be able to get out again.
Canal was, I think, maybe hoping to utilize that Rift Herald before Spark and UK Meal Deal rotated up, but unfortunately that will not be the case, and that means it's going to be a little bit easier to clear. They might not get everything they want out of it.
It's a 3v3 here, and it depends on who gets hit first. We know what happened here last time, and that Infinity is waiting in the wings, trying to look for an opportunity and jump on top of someone, and...
I think he just gave away he was in the brush, though.
Yeah. I don't know what that was about.
He placed the ward. So, you knew that wasn't the Nautilus. Give it a second.
And frees up free, trying to get the best out of the 1v1, but is 1v2 rather, but is not able to. Infinity though, he is not enough, has the phase rush, tries to get on top of him, finds it, tanks a turret shot, but gets out at least for now. But the stealth is not going to be enough as the Dredge line hits, and that's the shutdown as well, going over to Canal.
Once you get the reset on the ultimate from Kha'Zix, you become a monster because you get so much movement speed during your ultimate. You just need to find that reset with getting a takedown, and that gives you the movement speed refresh. Also means that you become have that ability to regenerate. So Ego Speed found that takedown. It's a good opportunity to push that Rift Herald into the mid and pick up some plates. I do feel that they thought they were going to get more out of it. However, you can see the rotation of Spark and UK Meal Deal has let Koki on the top side of the map just get a couple of plates for himself.
I mean, I got to question the decision because Infinity, he got a kill there, but only from a massive misplay from Calwood. He sort of went the wrong direction and then flashed into the wall. And that's the only reason he got the kill onto the Akali.
He could have flashed further away.
Yeah, and even then, it was still a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Bulldog. So without that massive misplay from Calwood, that would really not have been a good look for Nvision. So I think Infinity, he tried to make a save and play there, but he just gave over a massive shutdown to Kunal, and that gold lead from the CS really just shut away now.
But despite it all, as they engage on 3z3, he's getting dove here. They have the cat tank. He tries to stay alive. But even the Emperor's Divide, not enough there.
And Orcs mentioned it, the level 6 combo, when you've got the Nautilus, it is impossible to dodge the Cocoon. I mean, it sets the Cocoon up perfectly. A little bit layering of CC, I think, could have been done a bit better, but in the meantime, they have gifted over a turret. I think actually first turret of the game went over to Nvision here. However, all of those platings went onto Vladimir too, so that's a little bit of a...
They go so deep here, trying to get forward. Once again, a Spark tanks a lot of turret shots. We'll be able to get back here, but this fight is not over yet because the cat is making his way back. Spark does have his flash and his heal available and will flash the Dratch line there.
Oh,
but he gets speed. He hasn't had enough yet. Misses the first knuckle, but will be able to hit the second one. And there he goes. Chomps on top, gets the reset on top of his ultimate, but doesn't follow. UK Meal Deal standing in the brush there. And now Bulldogs look to be in control of the mid game here.
Yeah, just absolutely taking over. The platings have fallen, so they won't get that extra goal, but very easy to cut down that mid lane tower. And when you're against an Azir, that is a hard tower to take. So really, Bulldog doing what they need to in this early phases.
I kind of want to just point out something right now. Even though the Cloud Drake has spawned, it's kind of a meh Drake, right? No one really cares. Have a look at the gold difference between Brelia and Ego Speed right now. Brelia has been almost unheard of this entire... I don't think we've seen Brelia on camera more than once or twice this entire game. He took 5 plates in the bot, picked up first turret, and has a CS advantage over Ego Speed. This is a Vladimir that has been left alone, and that ticking time bomb is only getting more and more, I guess, threatening for Bulldogs as this game goes on.
And that's what we mentioned at the beginning as well. Brelia has done this every single time thus far we've seen Nvision play. As we see Freeze-Up-Free picking up the Cloud Dragon there. And he's on his way to become that team fighting threat that we've seen him be before. And now, even though I feel like Bulldog have been in control for a lot of this game, the gold lead, at least to me at 50 minutes now, like 500-600 gold, that's minimal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a massive amount. And you're in a good position for this Kai'Sa to start sort of pop off when you hit that 2-item point. But really, if the game gets a bit further beyond there, you are going to struggle. Crucially, it is another Infernal that is going to be the next dragon, and I feel like that is going to be the point where Nvision might go, okay, we've waited long enough, we're going to fight you 5v5. We think that Brelia on this Vladimir will be strong enough, so I think that is going to be our first major team fight point in this game, and it's going to come down to, has the scaling kicked in enough yet, or are Bulldogs still dominant in this mid-game phase?
He should have 2 items by then. He should have the Proto Belt and the Zhonya's finished up. Now, that doesn't give him the most team fighting power in terms of pure AP, but plenty of utility, plenty of repositioning, and team fight longevity too.
Yeah, my concern is just on the other side. I expect Coward. Oh, we are seeing engaged top lane.
They're going on Ego Speed. He does not have a revive available,
he
but he will get away. The cat though now trying to help the rest of his team. Uses the Dredge line, who this kill is going to get given over to. It will be to Brelia there. And this, of course, the new Aatrox. You need to get a kill to get that invulnerability.
Yeah, and Ego Speed does manage to get away, but can't. Essentially just suicide to try and make up, but Koki going very aggressive, but will not follow further forward onto 3z3. But this Kai'Sa is so strong right now. Just has a Storm Raise and some more components, but will have the upgraded Q. And actually, Kunal does find it!
Oh, there we go, baby!
Darius not even enough.
That was, I mean, that is what it is. I don't need to really analyze that much more. He just found the, I think that was a blind Cocoon as well. I don't think he had any vision.
No wards there.
No wards at all.
Play. And Calwood and Koki now going to take this tower down bot. Infinity potentially looking, but you have to be careful here. That Kai'Sa is pretty strong right now. And I think the big point for me is when the Rage Blade is picked up at the second line. Maxi Engage comes in.
They're going to go in though. The quickness finds multiple. Brand Andros knocks up 2, but is it going to be enough? Koki forced to flash out. He'll use as well, but can they find the re-engage? The Cat also joining the rest of his team, and Nvision decide to back off.
Didn't have any flashes to follow up that engage. Unfortunately, Koki escapes with his life. They do pick up that bottom lane turret. I am starting to just be a little bit nervous on the side of Bulldogs, though. Their 1-3-1 isn't working out very well for them. They aren't managing to push their advantages. I think they need to play around the Kai'Sa specifically. But the problem is you can't really play around your AD carry if you're trying to force a 1-3-1 because you're never grouping up and fighting. I think the big test is going to be exactly what Orcs mentioned, this next Infernal Drake. This will be a 5v5. This will be the point where hopefully Kai'Sa will have her Ginsu's online as well. Hopefully finishes that up. And that will be the team fight where we're looking for Koki to pop off.
Yeah, the power difference between the Kai'Sa and the Xayah will be the biggest at that point of the game. When you have that Storm Razor, Ginsu's, you have both upgrades on your Q and your E. insane amount of sustained damage. And then the Kai'Sa really doesn't have that much, but actually Canal is going in.
A lot of upfront burst, and the plasma stack has hit. Koki not going to go in just yet. The repel on top of Freezer Freeman. He gets taken down in Infinity now. Off on his own, Dredgeline doesn't hit him, goes for the other pathing, and the turret gets picked up. And look at the re-engage there from Infinity. Doesn't find it with the stopwatch. A Spark now goes in, and he will find the kill, but can he get out of it? I don't think so. As the double kill comes through for Calwood.
Oh, we've got so long to the Infernal Drake, though. It really doesn't mean too much. I don't even know if you can get much out of it. Ego Speed's looking for a 1v1 versus Brelia. He pops the ultimate.
Brelia doesn't really want to give it up here. Ego Speed has the Executioner's Calling, so he'll be able to negate a lot of the healing, but he's not going to stay alive here for long enough. Gets the Deathbringer stats up, meaning that he stays alive. Calwood now all on his way as well. Can Brelia find the kill? No, he cannot, and Ego Speed stays alive there despite all odds.
Everyone underestimates that hit from the passive hit in terms of healing.
And the healing from Conqueror being fully stacked just came in. I think, well, we underestimated it. Brelia definitely underestimated it, and the TP from Calwood wasn't too impactful, but just enough to make sure.
I think he hit a Q, right?
He hit one Q. He did hit the Q in the back end, so that was just enough to save him. And things definitely going in the favor of Bulldogs. At 2,000 gold up, they have that Infernal, but crucially, next one is on the map. A botched team fight here could swing things very much in Nvision's favor. And remember, Baron will be on the cards after this.
2 big points, and I want you to look at the top laners' builds right now. Brelia decided to go for a needlessly large rod. Now, what this is doing is going to give him more punch potential in a team fight. Sacrificing the Zhonya's as an item pickup for the Infernal Drake to go for, I just want to hit pure damage in this situation. Also, Executioner's Calling picked up for Ego Speed for the 1v1 potential, but also is going to be useful in team fight situations. It will slightly shut down Infinity with his W healing, and it will definitely shut down Brelia.
And we expected a team fight here, and we see that both teams are joshing for position here. It is started up, but the rest of Nvision is ready. Infinity already stealthed in, and on top of them, there comes the flash.
What engage!
Find it, engage on 2. Koki already taken low, will get taken down by Infinity, and all of a sudden, it is looking dire here. The double kill comes through. Ego Speed has not gotten the reset yet. He needs to find a kill, and he does not. And Nvision, we talked about this team fight. They completely wipe Bulldog and pick up the Infernal Drake.
NVE played that so well, but I've got to be honest, Bulldogs inted their positioning. I don't get it. Like, this is one of my biggest pet peeves in League of Legends. If you have got nothing to get, let's have a quick look at the replay. I'll talk about it afterwards, Ox.
Yeah, so you see Infinity coming on a great flank, and then UK Meal Deal flashes in, hits all of them, and look how low the health bars are already on the Elise and Koki, just as it starts, and then the rest of the team fight comes out with huge DPS coming from 3z3. Ego Speed tries to be a hero, but at this point, you essentially 1v4, you don't get the reset, and he will go down, and then the Infernal Dragon is there for NVE to pick up.
Okay, so there's 2 things there that I think were so key. They split their positioning in the fact that Calwood was so far away from the Bulldogs roster. Calwood was on the other side of the team fight there. He wasn't even able to take part in that. The other part of the fight that we needed to have a look at is the fact that when you have got a split pusher, Ego Speed was on the top side of the map. He was not there when the fight broke out. He had to teleport in. When you are split pushing, if you have not got anything to take on the other side of the map, if you are not even close to that tier 2 turret, don't bloody teleport in. You weren't dancing around the dragon. You weren't trying to bait that dragon out. You just bloody started it. And so you've got to be very aware that if you have a top laner who is trying to push a split push, when you've got a big objective up like Infernal Drake, just bring them down for the fight. Don't utilize that. Don't waste that teleport time. Bring them down for the fight.
And it was so big as well because you saw as soon as Ego Speed got into this fight, it was so close to getting a reset. And if he does, we've seen this Aatrox, especially when he's ahead, as Ego Speed is, can just absolutely demolish the really squishy lineup from Nvision, but they just weren't able to.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is that the issue was they didn't have the right position in there. They got essentially corralled by Infinity and by UK Meal Deal, and now with the gold lead in the favor of Nvision, I don't think they get another chance because they're trying to get control of this Baron area. But the gold advantage is on the scaling team. They've equalized that Infernal difference. And I really don't think Bulldogs at this point in the game are going to have a ton of success in a 5v5. And I feel like they just pulled the trigger too early on that Infernal Dragon because you look at the items from Koki, we talked about that big Rage Blade point. He didn't have it.
No, and also you got to look at the fact that Brelia has nearly finished up the Rabadons. That's just such a big power hitting item, especially for now a Baron fight that will be coming up, you would expect within the next 5 minutes. I think we need to look back towards that Infernal Drake fight. There were 2 major mistakes. the fact that Coward was on the opposite side of the retreat for Bulldogs as they were moving through that left-hand side into their red side jungle. Coward was on the opposite side of the Dragon Pit, so he couldn't find his way into the fight easily enough. Plus the fact, as I talked about, Ego Speed was pushing top for nothing. He was literally just taking minions. That teleport was a good 2 or 3 seconds where he wasn't in the fight, and you saw, Orcs mentioned it, within 2 seconds, both Kai'Sa and Elise were at 30% HP.
Yeah.
So by the time that he joined the fight, Kai'Sa, your absolute key member, was basically dead, and Elise was almost dead too.
And you could see the miscommunication because clearly they had to control the area, but they didn't have Ego Speed there. And so when they saw 5 members in Nvision coming, the call was get out, get out, get out. Even though they should have already called for Ego Speed to come in.
Exactly.
They should have been looking to engage. To have a Nautilus, you could have just gone in.
Imagine if you had, where Kai'Sa and Elise got caught, imagine if you had an Aatrox knocking everyone up in that tight enclosed area on that left-hand side of the river pit. You would win that fight, I'm sure.
Especially with the damage that you saw that Ego Speed did there.
Yeah.
Even on his own, if he gets a single kill then can start getting those resets on his ultimate, it might be enough. But we came into this game, we said Bulldog, they have an early timing window. It came down to that second Infernal because before that they were able to find some leads but not really push it to the limit. And now 2k gold advantage for Nvision. And with this team fighting composition, how are Bulldog going to find their way back into this game?
And that's the big thing, is just talking about the Rabadons that Sound will mention later. That is sort of the nail in the coffin. I feel like Bulldog aren't out yet, but it's going to be very difficult because I don't think they inherently just win the side lane pressure. Because they have Vladimir in the bot lane. He is fine up against Ego Speed. He is not going to lose that matchup. He may even just win the 1v1. And then on the other side of the map, there isn't been any pressure applied from the side of Bulldog. So I feel like Nvision can just keep waiting, keep scaling, but when they take a fight, they almost definitely will win it unless a great execution comes out from Bulldogs onto that backline. They need, I feel, a flank from Ego Speed and Calwood. I think that's the only way they're going to start to win team fights from this point.
I think they've got two ways of winning this game. Their solo laners pop off and find 1v1s. And I think I'm mainly looking towards Calwood, maybe finding a 1v1 against 3z3. Or they have this ability to just blow the backline up with the flank from Ego Speed or Coward, as Orcs said. Those are my only 2 things that I think can bring Bulldogs firmly back into this game. Because I actually just think with the Vladimir there, they lose strict 3v3 team fights.
And this is another Infernal, so we're going to see Nvision take this. No real contest available for Bulldog, and they picked up the first Infernal, and they are going to try and go for the Baron now, making sure that Nvision can't take that uncontested. But with all this damage, there comes the Dress. Is it going to be enough? It doesn't look like it, and the disengage comes through immediately as Brelia teleports in. Infinity, though, walking into the backline, trying to get a kill on Ego Speed. Has he been enough more than he can chew? It does not look like it. There is the contamination, and Corwood gets taunted and completely demolished. Ego Speed can't find anyone either, and now Nvision are just looking to take complete control of this game as they just take an amazing team fight against Bulldog.
Yeah, 3z3 might be in trouble here.
Little bit overstepped there, well punished, does get taken down, but the rest of his team, they're not looking for the Baron, they're walking straight down mid lane.
Yeah, I think this is the point in the game where it's just impossible. The late game teamfight potential of Rakan, the late game teamfight potential of Vladimir, I mean, it's so difficult to play against if you're Bulldog's composition.
I will argue that yes, it's difficult to play against, but that was not the team fight. That was not the one. They basically tried to stop the Baron, they had really bad position, they burned the Nautilus ult, which is the key team fighting tool, instantly, and then they were just completely split, which is great for Nvision because they have so much ability just to cut people down with the split. You saw how much Infinity did. He was able to run onto those 2 members on the bottom side and just make life hell for them. But now there's actually Spark doesn't have a way of getting out.
Spark's just dead. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that he could do there. We weren't able to finish the recall, and now it looks like Nvision might be caught here in a kind of an awkward position where the AD carry has gone. We see Infinity now making his way over. Brelia does have the Hemoplague enabled, and everyone is standing in a close position here, but they can't afford to give up this Baron. Freeze up free, looking for the blast gun. There is the engagement on top of Needle. He's not dead yet. Finds the Hemoplague as Ego Speed tries to take him down. Meanwhile, Infinity on his own in the back line. There is the reset, but gets immediately taken down as well, as we see Brelia still alive, and they keep trying to go for the Baron here. You can't afford to do that.
Coward's just dead, but Koki now kiting back on the back side of the team fight. It was essentially a 3-for-2 overall, but the Baron does go over to Bulldogs. The problem is, what can you actually do with this Baron? It's more of a denial Baron than a winning Baron.
I'm going to argue, I think that's actually a good trade for them. I think we'll have a bit of a look over here, and you see Bulldog are very indecisive. They don't want to look for the 50-50 when Infinity's invisible. They get vision on him, and now that his ult charges are down, he jumps over the wall. They think, right, we can actually do this Baron. Cat just falls the Baron, which is a bit unfortunate. But meanwhile, Ego Speed binds so much time, so they will take it. Calwood ends up falling. Canal does actually somehow manage to get away with his flash and then the blast clone, and then Koki uses his ult to reposition. Honestly, as bad as it seems, this is definitely a win for Bulldogs.
It's a good trade, but like I said, I think it's a trade to not lose, not a trade to win.
But crucially, with their 1-3-1 composition, this is where they can get some advantages. I'm not saying they're in a good position by any means.
I think if they were ahead, I would agree with you. The problem is that their solo laners are behind. Like, quite significantly behind in terms of their 1v1 potential. Maybe we see Calwood versus 3Z3 as a good matchup, right? That might be the case, but it doesn't even look like 3Z3 is even bothered about going to a side lane. And I don't even know if Bulldogs feel confident enough to go for a full 1-3-1 past that mid lane, even with the Baron, because I think they don't have the vision control. They haven't got the resources to invest in the vision control. They can't push their team up to get vision control in the blue and red side jungle of Nvision. And then if they do, they're going to lose all vision control in their own side jungle when they're arguably on the back foot. So it's all about how confident they're feeling, and it doesn't really look like they're confident enough to go for the full 1-3-1 commit.
Yeah, it looks like they're just pushing up mid, to be honest. So I think you may be right, and you're not going to be able to do that against Nazir, especially when there's super minions pushing the other direction. I think now they're starting to try to spread that 1-3-1, but you can look at Nvision. They are just waiting for this, because that is the opportunity to jump on Koki and the Cat, but looks like they're going to move up as well, so going for more of a 4-1, trying to get this inner town on top, but I don't think this is going to be an easy get. I think really they're looking for mistakes in the rotations, but you may be right. They're just buying time and not getting much at all.
Well, if you can draw Vladimir down to take on Ego Speed in the 1v1, maybe that's an area of a team fight where you can succeed.
Yeah, they do have TP advantage, so that is something to know. And Vladimir can never stop the TP of Aatrox. He has no hard CC to do that. But as of now, a lot of the Baron, over half have been burned, and all they've really done is shoved in some waves.
And we're now 30 minutes into the game, and you know, coming into this, it's always kind of a question who does better, but Bulldogs thus far, they're able to stay in this. They're not out of it yet, but I do got to say, I'm really impressed with how well Nvision have been able to play this defensive game, still find possibilities. And now, as the Baron buff, only 40 seconds left, the base has not yet been broken. They might be able to pick up a turret, and as we see some major missteps, I don't see Nvision's inhibitor being taken here.
The problem is they always have to react to the fact their mid lane's being pushed in. And they're going to look for maybe a full 5v5 here.
Infinity once again goes in, gets immediately attacked by Nautilus, but he will have the Guardian Angel available. Not a lot of damage on Frieza. Frieza down already. Ego Speed, though, doesn't find the kill. Crucially, no assist. And Brelia
it's not good.
takes it down. It was looking good, Scoundrel, but in the end, it's not enough. Now the chase comes through, and Nvision are saying, enough of your Baron buff. Koki and Corwood, they try to get away, where might be able to get up regardless of that. It's going to be the end of that push as Corwood does get tagged. Will jump back on Infinity to stay alive for a little bit longer as Koki actually gets the kill on UK Meal Deal. And finally, Spark flashes over, and this might very well be the game here.
I think it should be game. I think that was the best case scenario fight for Bulldogs, and even then they ended up losing it, and that's how far ahead Nvision are right now with their composition. The scaling is there, the Vladimir is too strong, and they will come out victors in game one of the series.
You just can't beat a Vladimir late game. I mean, that team fight I thought was going horrendously.
You were so excited.
For Nvision, and then the Vladimir ulted, and then he did like tons of damage with his E as well. And I just like, okay, no, they've just lost the team fight.
It's like a Karthus ult, but you have to aim it. But like as soon as you land, it's like, well, there we go.
Oh, that was insane. And I think we kind of highlighted that one fight, and we predicted that one fight being the kind of the win or lose moment for Bulldogs, and Bulldogs fluffed it. Because they really had the game in their hands at that point. And credit to Nvision, and specifically credit to
Infinity?
To Fastlegged. I think Fastlegged's UK Meal Deal, right? No, sorry.
It's UK Meal Deal.
It's UK Meal Deal. I thought, for some reason, I thought he'd name changed.
He's playing later.
So yeah, you're right. But specifically credit to UK Meal Deal on the Rakan, because he essentially single-handedly locked that team fight up and allowed them to win it. He basically got everyone into a ball and then made the Vladimir and the Azir just pop off with the combination of damage there. That was the defining fight. Everything after that point was a loss for Bulldog.
Yeah, it just felt like the confidence was there for Nvision. They knew that this Dragon was going to be the point of contention, and I feel like the communication from Bulldog just was it must have been a bit messy, because as you said, Ego Speed in the top lane doing nothing. The rest of the team had control of the Dragon area, but then got scared off because it was a 4v5 and then instantly lost a team fight. A lot of questions, and it's going to be do or die now for Bulldog going into this game too, because they lose this series, they're going into the losers bracket.
And for a UKLC team, of course, that can't be the goal here. So after a great first game by Nvision, we're going to take a short break, and then we'll see whether or not Bulldog can claw it back, or Nvision are going to be the one going to the upper bracket finals.